Honourable member for Halifax Citadel Sable Island.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will echo the words of so many that this proposed structure change is another in a long line of consolidating power in the hands of ministers, in the hands of Executive Council, and ultimately in the hands of the Premier's office. And it's another example where we're really concerned. So if the minister just now talked about the goal for increased transparency, that this would contribute to long-term goals of the government. Unfortunately, we have not been made privy to these. So this Crown Corporation and ABC's review was undertaken. We don't know the criteria, the process, and the stakeholder engagement that happened in each case, and we've been provided little. Well, we've provided nothing in terms of process and very little in terms of results. So I think this is just another concerning move that, and in particular for the agricultural sector, who I don't think asked for this. I think, our agricultural sector is struggling and has been on the front lines of climate change. And this is only reinforced through Fiona as folks assess the damage, the short-term and long-term damage that they have, and have had increased recovery costs. We know our farmers have been struggling through this cost of living crisis because it's also for them a cost of production, harvest, and transportation. So the increased costs this year in terms of inputs, labor shortage, housing shortage. And there's actually so many pressures in the agricultural sector that there's a great emphasis, in fact, on farmers' mental health. And so I think that's really important to put that all in context, that the agricultural sector values the work of Perennia as it is. Like my colleague from Kings South, thank you, I also reviewed the financial statements, and I have more questions, and I would invite the minister to respond to those. So there's approximately a third of the budget coming from government inputs, and then there's actually a lot generated from consulting fees. So is that the financial model that is going forward for Perennia? So in a sense, I don't understand why government's getting involved in a well-functioning, well-regarded organization that is doing quite well on its own. It's just not clear. So if the minister has some rationale that he's able to share, that would be really helpful. So what analysis was conducted? You talked about more transparency. I'd love to understand that because as a private organization, Perennia is responsible for providing its financial statements every year. It provides an annual report. So whatever this transparency is, and it's also ironic to use transparency in the context of this ABC review that has been completely not transparent. I am also concerned about the level of stakeholder engagement. So as I understand it, people in the sector don't feel like they were particularly engaged. If the minister wants to counter that, again, I would welcome to hear more about how engagement was undertaken and to see the results of that engagement. I also would just like to point out that we're also wondering, Perennia has responsibilities for agriculture and for fisheries and aquaculture, and is taking those with them under this new structure, but reports directly to the Minister of Agriculture. So on the fisheries and aquaculture side, I'm wondering how engagement will be maintained, how decision making will happen. So will, in fact, the same decision structure be followed and it goes to the Department of Agriculture, which doesn't seem to make a lot of sense since we have a Department of Fisheries and Aquaculture with a great deal of expertise in that organization. So I guess just to say again, I don't know why this is being proposed. I'd love to hear why it's being proposed. I can't see the rationale for this major change at this point. Thank you.